Welcome to the Author's Edge radio show with Guy L. Freer. Each week on their show, they help authors create books that transform our lives and imaginations. Through radio excellence, they create a unique community resource, one that promotes, connects, and fosters a sense of well-being. They serve listeners by providing outlets for their creative skills and energies, and they help them flourish in the competitive marketplace. Their weekly show provides intros, writing spotlights, helps you in promoting your book, your writing, your publishing, your marketing tidbits, and much more. Okay, audience, here's the Author's Edge radio show with Guy L. Freer.
Welcome to the Author's Edge show. Join us for lively conversations with writers, publishers, songwriters, illustrators, and artists diving into the art of storytelling. Catch us live every Saturday at 8 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. on KWRH FM 929 and KXOK FM 1029, or stream online on KXOK.com, KWRH929.com, and via free apps iHeartRadio, Audacity, and TuneIn. The show also airs nationwide Monday to Friday at 8 a.m. on the My Genre Radio Network. Missed an episode? Find us anytime on SoundCloud, YouTube, or at authorsedge.org. Now that's authorsedge.org. Welcome back to our studio, everyone, and welcome to Author's Edge. I am your host, ta-da, Guy L. Freer, and today we have an exciting guest joining us, Liz Enox. She is a writer from Southeast Missouri and the author of Leaving the House Unlocked, a nonfiction collection of single-sentence prose pieces. She's been writing professionally since 2014, and her work has been published by numerous websites and literary journals. On her Substack, Liz's Substack, Liz publishes fresh pieces of writing every Thursday, and every piece she publishes includes an audio embedded of her reading the piece. Oh, that's pretty cool. I like that. Liz currently works in education, and she lives in a tiny cabin in the woods with her two cats, Francois and Charlie. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, good. I'm glad. It's better than not being happy to be here.
Yes, you're right.
Francois, you know that under Francois, under the C, it's supposed to have a little CD. It's called.
Yes.
It's what it's called in French, a CD. It's supposed to have it's like a little half of 5 underneath.
I know. I can never remember the keyboard
Oh,
shortcuts.
there's a number.
Yeah?
Yes. Oh, I can get you the number.
Awesome. Please do.
I will give you the number. It's because I have to do the same thing with my name.
Yes.
Because my name is Gae with a diaresis over the first E, LLE, or an umlaut,
Mm-hmm.
and it's 0173 is my,
Okay.
is the code is all 0173, which is what I have to do for my diaresis.
Now,
So-
does that change the pronunciation of
yes,
your
it
name?
does.
Okay. So
Yes,
how do you
it
pronounce your
does.
first name again?
Gael.
Gael.
Well, it's Gael
Okay.
is the way it's pronounced.
All
okay?
right.
So, but everybody says Gael.
Yeah.
It's what it's.
It's beautiful.
Well, thank you. Thank you. But that's that. So I will get you how to do that little CD.
Thank you.
Okay.
Poor Francois.
For Francois.
Yes.
Because Francois needs to be done correctly.
Oh, yes.
But let's rewind a little. Every writer has a beginning. Moments, people, or places that spark that first creative fire. What did that look like for you?
Well, it's hard to pinpoint exactly when because I feel like I've been writing forever. But I know when I was about 7 years old, I remember my mom giving me an empty storybook
Mhm.
and she handed it to me and she told me, fill this up with stories. And I did. And I think that's what I really think about. And I've been writing ever since.
Uh-huh. Well, why did she give you the book?
Well, we were homeschooled and it was probably part of a school project.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know. I'll have to ask her that sometime. I don't know if she noticed me scribbling a lot in my notebooks and wanted to encourage that, or if she was just thinking it would be part of our education.
Okay. What keeps you writing?
I guess I just have to. It's like it makes me happy, and it's also almost like compulsive, I guess. I feel like I have to. I write because I have to.
Do you remember your first published piece?
I think the first piece I had published in print was like a newspaper piece when I was little, but also college literary journals. And then my first published piece online was a website I think called Hello Giggles in the 2010s.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Now, do you do most of your pieces online? Or, I mean,
I do a lot. I've had a lot published online. I think whenever I had graduated college and was starting to like pursue writing very seriously, it was already going in that direction where it was mostly online.
mhm.
Print was becoming more and more of a dying animal, although we love print, definitely. But yeah, most of my work is definitely online. I do have a print piece in Missouri Life magazine. My book is print, but most of my stuff is online.
Okay. Which writer shaped your early writing?
That's a good question. There's so many. I remember I really enjoyed Tolkien whenever I was a youngster. I don't know that I actually understood half of what he was writing because I was so young when I started reading him, but
That's kind of like me with Edgar Allan Poe. My mother
Yes.
gave me Edgar Allan Poe when I was, I don't know, I guess in the 8th grade or something. I was really young. And I didn't really understand a lot of it, but boy, do I love Edgar Allan Poe.
me too. I love Poe. I really liked Mark Twain. I think I was just really drawn to him because at the time there were not a lot of stories set in Missouri and like
Mhm.
being, born and raised in Missouri. I really liked having such an infamous Missouri writer
Yes.
to
Yes.
look up to.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. What's one book that changed your life?
Wow, just one. I really, oh man, there's so many. The Color Purple really stuck with me. I read that
Yeah?
in college. The Handmaid's Tale I read in college.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
Did
Margaret
you see
Atwood.
the movie?
I watched the first 2 seasons and then I had to stop and I haven't picked it back up.
Yeah, there were a couple of scenes there that I just
Yeah.
couldn't get past.
It was a difficult time too because like the second season, I was working as a journalist at that time, and like in the show, journalists were persecuted quite a bit in that
Right.
season. Of course, there's all the violence against women as well, which is hard to watch.
Yes,
So, but I mean, I think it's a really important story, and it's
it is.
unfortunately all too relevant no matter what time, whether you're reading
Yes.
the book whenever it was published or watching the show now. But definitely that book really stuck with me. And
Yes, that book has stuck with me too.
yeah, in The Color Purple.
Yeah, both those books really, they have a message that just kind of sticks to you. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. And one other one I have to mention is Joan Didion. Oh man, I can't think of the title right now. It's the one she wrote about, The Year of Magical Thinking.
oh,
It's all about grief, and that has stuck with me too.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. All right. You're listening to Author's Edge on KWRH 929 and KXOK 1029 every Saturday at 8 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. Today, we are chatting with Liz Enox, author of Leaving the House Unlocked, writer of a beautifully reflective weekly newsletter on Substack. Okay, let's dive into the magic behind the words. Okay, you live in a tiny cabin, which I really want to know more about. Is this tiny house living? Is that what this is? Or is it?
I think that makes it sound way cooler than it probably is, but I do love it. I'm really fortunate. My parents bought some land in Wayne County,
Uh-huh.
and it's super hilly, super green. There's evergreens, so it's
In
green
Wayne
all
County?
the time. Yeah.
That's not far from me.
Really? Where are you?
Poplar Bluff.
Yeah.
Butler County.
Yeah.
We're neighbors.
Yes.
We're like spitting distance.
We are. We're border counties.
We're border spitting distance. Now that's a good country thing.
Yes, I
Yes.
love that phrase.
I mean, sometimes I do come up with country things.
Yeah, you've been here long enough now.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. So you live in a tiny cabin.
Mhm.
Now, how tiny is this cabin?
So I think it's probably like 12 by 20. It's really little.
So then it is tiny house
Yeah.
living.
Yes.
And
And it's
see, I'm a
great.
tiny house person.
Yes.
I don't have a tiny house. My house is big. It's 3,000 square feet.
Wow.
Okay, so that's not tiny house, but I love the concept.
It's
think
really
it's so
wonderful.
cool.
Yeah. It's great for just me and the cats. I also have a screened in porch with
Mhm.
a porch swing. So that adds a little space to it. And if the weather's nice, I just keep the door to the porch open. So it feels like an extension of like the living room,
Mhm.
basically. But yeah, it's really cozy and I love taking care of it and writing there. That's where I do most of my writing I do there. And I don't have internet, so I do it. A lot of it's on my phone, on my porch.
You don't have internet.
I don't. I did for the longest time, but I stopped working from home, and then it wasn't that great of internet anyway, being out in the
Yeah.
boonies. So I just got rid of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But don't you miss it?
Well, it certainly makes a lot of things more convenient. And I can still use cellular data some, so it's not like I'm completely cut off.
Uh-huh.
But, I've kind of enjoyed being forced to disconnect.
Yes.
And it's made me utilize my local library a lot more. You can get all kinds of stuff there. You can get movies and TV shows and, of course,
That's true.
Of course, books. But I don't know. I kind of like how it forces you to disconnect, and it also kind of gives you more options, which can actually be kind of nice for my brain.
Well, that's true. That is true. I found that I'm a little bit too connected. Yeah. And I think being too connected makes you a bit too lazy.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I think for me, it really helps to have like clear boundaries. So like
Mhm.
if I need the internet, I make sure I use it when I'm in town.
Mhm.
And then when I'm at home, I do other things. And
Right.
it's just nice to kind of force yourself to be more organized in a way.
Mm-hmm. And it's like I'm a big book reader, okay, but I like book in my hand.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not a book person on my phone. I don't read books on my phone. I don't read books on a Kindle. I don't read books on my laptop. I don't, for some reason, do not like reading. As a matter of fact, even when I have to, like I do a script or I do anything, or I do any work of any kind, I inevitably will do the work, but then I will print out a hard copy to actually read it and edit it or read it and correct it or do whatever I'm doing with it. I don't like reading it on my laptop. I don't like doing any of that on my laptop
I can understand
whatever
that.
reason. And so I find that I become too lazy and I don't read my books. I spend too much time scrolling on my phone, scrolling on the internet, scrolling. So by being connected, I find that becomes my lazy.
I
you know what I
totally
mean?
understand that. I actually don't have social media either, but I did.
See, that's what I do.
Yeah.
have, and
I did. And it's designed to keep you scrolling.
yes,
you
it
know,
is.
And I did have it for a long
And that's what I mean
time.
when I say it makes me lazy.
Yeah, because it's much easier to consume all the wonderful stuff you can consume.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It really does. It really, really does. So, do you write best in the quiet of the woods? Now, do you write by hand? Oh, no, you said you wrote on your phone.
I do a lot of writing on my phone. I used to write on my laptop, and a lot of times I will start with a notebook and jot down ideas,
Mhm.
maybe jot down a really crude outline.
Mhm.
And then when I'm ready to put it together, like when I was writing Leaving the House Unlocked, I would write down research and little ideas and outlines on a notebook.
Mhm.
And then when I was all ready to go, I would sit on my porch and type it up on my phone because I liked the mobility of it, especially since those pieces are all quite short. It's not nice to be able to just swing on the porch with a phone instead of trying to deal with a laptop.
Yes. Now, do you write anything more than poetry?
Oh, yes, definitely. So Leaving the House Unlocked is actually prose. And it's just single sentence prose and lots of punctuation. And so some of them are like 2 pages, but it's 1 sentence. And I actually think my favorite thing to write is creative nonfiction. I do a lot of that, especially on my Substack. But I do write poetry and I do some short fiction, but I am just really drawn to creative nonfiction. I love reading it and I love writing it. So
tell me more about your nonfiction.
Okay, so what would you like to know?
Okay, well, all right. Well, let's put that aside for a moment because I
Okay.
want to know more about your writing day. So
Okay.
so your typical day, tell me about what that looks like.
So I have 2 jobs, and so I'm quite busy during the week.
Mhm.
But a lot of times, if I have downtime, I might do a little research if I'm interested in writing about a topic.
For example, what topic?
So I recently wrote a personal essay for my Substack that incorporated my love of like keeping my home or homemaking, however you want to call that. Like I really love that. And it's spring and everyone's thinking about that kind of stuff right now. But I think I love to learn and I love to share what I learn with other people. And so I think also with my background as a journalist, even in my most personal pieces, I try to incorporate research from other topics to make the personal more universal.
Okay.
So with my most recent piece, I talked about my love of homemaking as a way to talk about like changing weather patterns and climate change and habitat loss among different endangered animals. So like I'll often start writing about something personal and then go into something very universal with nonfiction.
How do you know when a piece is done?
Sometimes I feel like they are never done and you just have to say, okay, we're not going to work on this anymore. But one thing I do like to do is at the very least, I try to sleep on a piece. Because sometimes I'll get so excited to share a piece that I'll want to just publish it. But without fail, when I do that, I end up wishing I'd waited because I'll look at it and think, oh, well, that could have been better or that could have been a more smooth,
Always.
Yes. So,
yes.
But at some point, you just have to, wash your hands of it.
Yeah. How do you handle writer's block?
Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I take it as a sign that I need to take a break.
Okay.
Now, in the past, when I had was working with more deadlines, or now when I know that I need to get a piece up for Substack and I don't have one scheduled already, I find productive procrastination can be helpful. So I might take a walk or do some cleaning or, play with my cats for a bit or something. But I think if you don't have the pressure of a deadline, sometimes it's just a sign that you need to take a break. Maybe do something that inspires you, listen to music, or consume someone else's work.
What's the best piece of writing advice you've been given?
So when I was in college at SEMO, a professor of mine, Dr. Swartout, shout out Dr. Swartout. This was back in the day when you printed off your piece and you mailed it in with a self-addressed stamped envelope. So she would tell us, print out your piece and put it in a drawer for a month. Now, I don't have the patience to wait that long usually, but at the very least, I try to sleep on everything before I publish it or submit it.
What's the best piece of advice you could give?
So kind of in the same vein, one of my jobs, I do tutoring, writing tutoring, and something I tell my students is if they haven't procrastinated to the point that this is not an option, they need to sleep on their essays.
Yes, always.
Always sleep on them. And then also, if they're getting really freaked out sometimes and they haven't written a word and they're overthinking it, I'll just tell them, let it be crap. Just like get it on the page. You can edit crap, but if there's nothing there to edit, then you're stuck.
That's exactly what I would tell my kids in class. Because I was a teacher, taught for 39 years, and that's what I would tell them. I cannot correct what's not there.
So true.
But if you have something there, then we have something to talk about.
Exactly.
But if there's nothing there, I can't work with you. And
Right.
so it could be the world's worst piece of garbage that you could ever imagine. I don't care.
Just get it on the page.
Put it on the paper. We can talk about it. And it doesn't matter. But if there's nothing on the paper, then there's nothing to talk about.
That's so true. And it's fun to edit, I think. It's fun to play with a piece.
It really is fun to edit. Well, used to be fun to edit. I don't really like doing it anymore. But I don't mind the editing when I'm doing something, that's kind of fun. But changing words and working with the words and finding a better word, that's always fun to do.
Yes, it's like a
really
puzzle.
is. It's like a puzzle. You're right. Absolutely. And that can be a lot of fun when you're doing that.
Yes.
But if you don't have anything to work with, then
you're stuck.
You're stuck.
Yeah.
So it's best to put something down on the paper. It's always best. How do you foster community with other writers?
So I'm very fortunate to still be in touch with some of the writers that I went to school with and that I worked with after I graduated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to keep in touch with them. One writer in particular, I remember during the pandemic, we just sent each other pieces back and forth. The
pandemic
so much
changed
fun.
the world in so many ways.
Yes, the pandemic was not fun, but sending the pieces back and forth was a lot of fun, and it was a great way to sort of brighten things up. And she also has a Substack, and so I try to communicate with her on there. A couple of my friends have started Substacks since I have, and I'm very supportive, and I recommend theirs to other people.
Can you tell us a little bit about Substack? What exactly is that?
So it's a platform.
Those people who don't know what it is.
Okay. It's an online platform where you can, if you're a big reader, you can find people to follow and you can read their work. You can subscribe to their newsletters. They're all called newsletters, but when I think of a newsletter, I think of updates of what's going on in someone's life. And a lot of this is a fiction story every week, or poems every week, or a personal essay every week, or if you're me, all three, just depending on the week. But there is also kind of a social media aspect to it where you can kind of like a feed where you can comment and that sort of thing. But I mainly just use it to publish my work, and I would really like to get more communicative with people on there, but I haven't been on there for even a year yet, and it's still growing. I think it's been around for years though.
Now, is it do you get viewers on there? Is it kind of like likes and what like with Facebook where you get likes and things like that?
It's quite a bit more. I mean, it's hard to explain. It's kind of like a blog, but there's tons of bloggers there. So it's not just like one person's blog, I guess.
Okay. Is it something you have to pay for?
Some people have paid tiers set up. Currently, my Substack is totally free. I may launch a paid tier in the summer, but even then, I will always have a free tier. The paid tier would come with bonus content for people who were interested in that.
Okay.
But most people, even if they have paid turn on, they have a free option. You just don't get as much access.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Don't touch that dial now. You're listening to Author's Edge, airing every Saturday at 8 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. on KWRH 929 and KXOK 1029. You can also catch us online at KXOK102.com, KWRH929.com, or on your favorite free apps like iHeartRadio, Odyssey, and TuneIn. And hey, we are nationwide weekdays at 8 a.m. and on My Genre Radio Network. Today's guest is the wonderful Liz Enochs, and she's here talking about her poetic book, Leaving the House Unlocked. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Are you an author, publisher, editor, illustrator, songwriter, or artist looking to expand your reach? Advertise on Author's Edge to connect with passionate readers and industry insiders with engaging interviews, reviews, and discussions. Your book will shine. Why choose us? Reach thousands of book lovers. Boost sales and visibility. Target impactful ads. Trusted host endorsements. Elevate your presence with Author's Edge. Contact us today at 573-714-1352, where authors and readers meet.
El Potro Restaurant and Market, located at 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland, offers the finest variety of Mexican and Central American groceries and goods. El Potro Restaurant serves authentic Mexican and Central American cuisine, including daily specials, not to mention the best horchata and tastiest margaritas in St. Louis. Open 7 days a week. El Potro, 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland.
Merton Services is a heating, air conditioning, and commercial refrigeration business that's been providing exceptional services in St. Louis for over 50 years, and they take pride in providing services and comfort to both residential and commercial customers. With the temperatures rising in the summer and dropping in the winter, your comfort and health can be put in jeopardy. With proper checks and maintenance, Mertens will keep your equipment in top shape. And when it's time to replace your furnace or your air conditioner, they've got you covered. With a wide range of options, Mertens has the perfect HVAC system to fit all of your needs. To find out how the good folks at Mertens Services can help you with all of your HVAC needs, contact Mertens Services at 314-845-1500. That's 314-845-1500. Mertens Services, 314-845-1500.
Jewels on Hampton in St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks, sports memorabilia, and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa. Call them at 314-752-5000. 314-752-5000. Jewels on Hampton.
All right, refill your coffee. We are back on Author's Edge, broadcasting on KWRH 929 and KXOK 1029. And today's guest is Liz Enox, who's not only written the beautifully poetic Leaving the House Unlocked, but also delivers weekly wisdom on Substack. Now let's get back to it. All right, let's talk about your work find its way into the world, from your book to your Substack to social media. Publishing is evolving faster and faster, and we're right in the mix, right? How do you shape and share your voice in this new landscape? Why do you share your work on Substack?
So I love Substack because it's a beautiful platform and they make it's very user friendly. So it's easy to publish, beautiful work on there.
Right.
And it's also, Substack is growing in popularity all the time. And I'm not on social media. I know I probably should be. I just hate it. So I'm not on it.
Yeah.
And
understandable.
Yeah, it used to be a lot more fun, I think. But I do have a personal website where all my writing is linked. My Substack is linked. I have a monthly newsletter that goes out from there where I share my recently published work. I'll be sharing a link to this, the YouTube on that.
Well, I'm certainly
yes.
Well, what I will make sure you know, at the end of the show, what I do is I will send you immediately a link so that you will immediately be able to share it with everyone.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Yes, I can share that on Substack as well. It has, in addition to the publishing option, my publication is its own thing, but then I also have a personal account where you can post kind of like you would on Twitter or something like that.
Right.
And so I can probably post a link on there of the show as well.
Yep. You would be able to?
Yes. And so another thing I like to do is local stuff like this. If I'm asked to do a reading at, a local college or a local library, I pretty much always say yes to that.
Do you like hearing your own voice?
I've gotten used to it. I used to hate it, but then when I was working as a journalist for years, I had to get over that because of all the interviews that I did with subjects. And I record every single thing I write on Substack. I record and I embed that recording into the piece because I feel like a lot of people don't really like to read that much, but they do want to consume stories.
Yes.
So, and people are very busy, and I understand that. So they can just listen to the recording if they don't feel like reading.
Yes. Yes. Do you have publishing goals this year?
I would really love to grow my readership on Substack. I'd love to grow it enough that I can justify launching a paid tier and creating bonus content. It's something that I obviously would do for free. I'm doing it for free now, but who doesn't need more streams of income?
Tell me about it.
So that's a big goal for me this year. I have some ideas for a novella if I can get to it, but I do work a lot, so we'll see.
How did you find a publisher for your book?
Submittable, actually. Have you heard of Submittable?
No. Tell me about it.
It's online as well. You can go in there, you can create an account, and then you can search for publishers you can get pretty specific if you're looking for a publisher of poetry, nonfiction, fiction, if it's a full-length manuscript, if it's a chapbook, like Leaving the House Unlocked.
How did you find this?
So I think I heard about it in college. It was, it was pretty new then. Like I said, we were still like.
And it's called, say it again.
Submittable.
Submittable?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's where I found the publisher that published Leaving the House Unlocked.
How have you promoted your book since its publication?
Besides
this show.
So like I said, anytime I get invited to do a reading, I do that.
Now this is the book.
Yes.
Okay. Let's take a look at the book. Let's take a look at this book. Let's take a look at this book.
It's almost 2 years old.
It's almost 2 years old. Okay.
My little toddler.
Leaving the House Unlocked. Now, it's an interesting title. Why is it called Leaving the House Unlocked?
So one of my writer friends, the one I was talking about earlier, who we sent pieces back and forth during the pandemic, I actually historically have had a hard time with titles. So I asked her to help me figure one out. And she gave me, after reading it, 3 options taken from the manuscript, and Leaving the House Unlocked was one of them. And I thought that was great because I do incorporate research on a lot of broad topics, but it is, it's deeply personal at times. So Leaving the House Unlocked felt like an appropriate title.
Okay. Now you have it formatted in a really interesting way. Formatting is interesting. Okay. Can you see the inside of the book? Okay. You have an interesting format. Can you tell us about it? What made you decide to do this?
The single sentence prose. I actually stumbled across a literary journal, and I thank them in the acknowledgments, called Complete Sentence. And they publish exclusively single sentence prose. And so I wrote a piece for them a few years ago and called Nostalgia Becomes Grief. It's actually,
say it again.
Nostalgia Becomes Grief.
Okay.
It's actually in Leaving the House Unlocked. And I was so inspired by that concept, and I had so much fun writing that piece that it inspired me to write a whole chapbook of pieces like that.
Now, would you read one for us?
Sure.
I would love for you to read one.
Yes. How about I read Nostalgia Becomes Grief? Well, actually, there may be some radio unfriendly language in that one. Let me find.
Yes, we have to be careful. I don't want Mark to yell at me.
Okay, so how about, since we're in St. Louis, I read the one I wrote for Josephine Baker.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let me just look over it real quick. It looks good. Okay. Josephine. I want to bring your mom muffins and coffee the day after your birth and tour 1906 St. Louis after we've eaten. I want to tag along when you start cleaning and babysitting for white families just 8 years later, because I don't trust strange men with little girls, and I've read you were often poorly treated in those homes. And I don't know what poorly treated entails, but your childhood must have been unhappy for you to run away from home at 13 and marry a man you'd quickly divorce. But whatever happened or didn't happen, it doesn't seem to have broken your spirit. Because women without gumption don't move to Paris and perform in nothing more than a feather skirt. And they don't date other women. And they don't smuggle secret messages for the French resistance in their sheet music and underwear. And they don't keep falling in love after love has failed them. And they don't adopt a dozen kids. And they don't refuse to perform for segregated audiences in 1950s America. And they don't join MLK for the March on Washington. And they don't earn a standing ovation at Carnegie Hall. And they certainly don't get the French to love them so dearly they're buried with military honors and given a 21-gun salute. And I know you are truly as French as you were American, but I wish I'd learned about you when I was learning about Mark Twain and George Washington Carver and Harry Truman. Because no offense to those legends, but I needed a brave, femme, openly queer Missourian to look up to back then even more than I need one today. We love Josephine Baker.
We do too. We love Josephine Baker. As a matter of fact, my husband's an artist. He's a sculptor.
Wow.
He's a sculptor and he's a writer and he writes children's books. He's marvelous. He's just delightful.
Two peas in a pod.
All I do is I promote everybody. I'm a promoter of all people. But he is, my son is wonderful as well. He's a lighting designer in New York.
Wow.
And he's also delightful.
Yeah.
He's adorable. He's really cute. But more than that, my husband did an art piece, and it's called Josephine Baker.
Wow. I love her.
Yeah, we do too.
And I didn't learn about her until I was in my 20s.
And that's part of the thing, school has a tendency for teaching us about old white men.
Yeah.
And they forget about all the other people that we should be learning about.
Right. And look, there are some cool old white men, but I want to learn about everybody.
Yes. Well, you're not old, but you are a white guy.
I want to learn about everybody.
We do want to learn about everybody, and everybody should be taught.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to teach all about them, but we should do a fair sprinkling.
Yes.
Where a little bit more evenly distributed.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
But other than that, let's go
Moving
into
on. Yeah.
Right. Let's get in there. How we already talked about the fact that you're not on social media.
Correct.
And we already talked about why.
Yeah.
What kind of writing do you do? Do you publish on Liz? Well, we talked about that. We talked about that. Why did you start publishing on your writing on Liz Substacks?
I just got really impatient. I mean, I feel like you can wait for 6 months to a year to hear from a literary journal. And
that's true.
It's not always.
Well, that's why a lot of people self-publish as well.
Yes.
They don't want to go the traditional route because they're afraid they're going to end up dead before they get published.
Yes.
And why?
Yeah. And I also, coming up as a writer in the 2010s, I think that they were working with a lot more money and more attention span or something, because it's only gotten harder, I think, to get published outside of non-traditional avenues.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think it's just gotten harder and harder. If they're not going to make big bucks on you, they're not going to publish you.
Yeah.
And that's how it feels.
Yes.
I'm not sure if that's how it is, but that's how it feels.
That's one reason when I was looking for a publisher for Leaving the House Unlocked, I really focused on university presses and small presses, because they are not really there for the money. Like
they want to make money, but they're not looking to make millions.
Right. Yeah.
That's the difference.
And they'll give you a little bit, and then, they make up for that by just really supporting you and doing a lot of work for you.
The only problem is the advertising and the public, the making it, making it out there.
They certainly don't have the kind of reach.
No.
Yeah.
That's the problem. How do you see Substack reshaping literary publishing?
Well, I think it does provide, there's just a lot of room on there for all kinds of voices. Like I said, like with more traditional avenues, including websites at this point, there's just not a lot of space, and they want to publish what will get a lot of clicks. And sometimes there's really excellent work that's not going to get a lot of clicks. So I think Substack provides just a wide variety for a lot of people who deserve to be heard and are very talented, but maybe aren't going to get their work out there otherwise.
Yeah. Do you think audio is becoming essential for writers?
I think so. That's why I put an embed in all of my pieces of me reading it, because I don't mean to sound grumpy when I say this. It's just a fact. Like, a lot of people just don't want to read, and they just don't have a great attention span for reading.
There is some truth to that.
And people are really busy. So if you can listen to it, I mean, I love listening to podcasts when I'm doing other things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm happy to have someone listen to my work while they're doing other stuff.
So how do you feel about, you reading your own stuff? Do you think voice changes? Do you do voice changes with it, or do you just read it straight up, or how do you approach it?
I try to not necessarily change like how deep or high my voice is, but like I definitely try to give it a little life if I'm doing dialogue or, it depends on the piece, really. I have some pieces on there. I did a series of short fiction that they're ghost stories inspired by Missouri tragedies. I did one about the New Madrid earthquake, one about the Kansas City, I think it was a hotel collapse in Kansas City in the 80s.
Oh.
And
what's that one called?
That one I think is called Updates.
Uh-huh.
And then the earthquake one is called Earthquake Christians, which I do research with every piece. So if you read the piece, you'll know why I titled it that. And then, but yeah, I try to give it a little life, but I'm not an actress. So
have you thought about going to a company that does audio books and having them do it?
Well, I really enjoy doing it, actually.
Okay.
I think it's a lot of fun. And it's, very budget friendly. I just record it on my phone, and then that's all I have to do. But, if I get another book published and I had the opportunity to narrate it for, like Audible or someone, I would love that.
How do you balance authenticity with online visibility?
So that's a good question. And I have kind of writing online as long as I have. I've sort of learned like how to be vulnerable in a way that still feels safe, which kind of sounds contradictory.
It sounds very smart.
Yeah. I just really think like, is this something I'm really comfortable getting into? And then also the less is more approach. Like, you can say a lot without saying very much. And I also think it really helps, like I said before, to make the personal more universal as much as possible. A lot of things that we all have unique experiences, but at the same time, a lot of them are unfortunately not at all unique. And you can sort of talk about the greater, the sociological impact of some of these things and the stats we have.
Now, your writing also has a distinct rhythm and feel to it. Okay. It's elegant, it's honest, it's minimal. What inspired you to write a nonfiction book of single sentence prose pieces?
So it was really that Complete Sentence literary journal really inspired me, because their whole lit journal is full of single sentence pieces. And I also really liked it because you can talk about a lot of different things in one collection because they're all a single sentence.
Right.
And with chapbooks, which are like little books,
right.
You want a overarching theme. And so in my mind, that theme for Leaving the House Unlocked was grief. But grief can be approached in many different ways. And also death is one of the overarching themes, which makes it sound like a bummer, but I don't think it is. And so I have a piece in there like about Josephine, who is dead now and lives on in our hearts. But I have a piece on there about roadkill. And I have a piece about
Supper.
Nostalgia, because nostalgia is grief in a way.
In a way, it is.
You know, as the older I get, the more I see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if that answers your question.
What did your writing process look like when you were writing Leaving the House Unlocked?
So when I was writing Leaving the House Unlocked, it was just as much, if not more, research than it was writing. I did a lot of research, and what I would do in the beginning, I had like just a bare bones outline of all the topics I wanted to hit. And then I would go and I would really research a topic super well when I had internet access. And then at home, when I had it all researched to my liking, then I would write the piece. So it was about 3 months where I did research and or writing every day. And then after that, I don't think I wrote anything for 3 months because I needed a break. But there, every day for about 3 months, I was working really hard on that while also, working my job.
Okay. All right. So this is Author's Edge, KWRH FM 99.29 and KXOK FM 102.9, your weekend stop for creative voices. And we're here every Saturday at 8 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. And today we're joined by Liz Enox, whose book, Leaving the House Unlocked, and weekly Substack newsletter are filled with poetic honesty and heart. Woo! Now we're going to look at some of the pieces. You wrote some truly beautiful and thought-provoking lines in Leaving the House Unlocked, and I'd like to take a look at a couple of them. You sent us some things. I want to know how and why and when nostalgia becomes grief. And then you also said, I'll be damned if I didn't make myself a writer and I'd trade all my other dreams for that one. Then there was a couple of other, then there's this one also. Occasionally it hits me that I'm carrying the names of two people who seem to have experienced more pain than joy during their brief time above ground. And a less optimistic person than me might consider themselves cursed to carry such a couple's names. But I've always seen it as an honor, a chance for redemption, an inspiration to cultivate as much joy and adventure and kindness as possible, no matter how much time I'm given. So, what inspired you to write these particular reflections? Now, are they all from the same or are they separate?
They're from separate pieces.
Okay,
Yeah.
So, all right. So then the first one, I want to know how and why and when nostalgia becomes grief. Tell us about that one then.
Yes. So the piece that I took that from is actually called Nostalgia Becomes Grief.
Mhm.
And I think when I moved back from California to the area I grew up in Southeast Missouri, I was 29 and I had just survived like an unexpected illness that almost killed me. And I think it all got me thinking about my childhood a lot. And I had a good one. Nobody's as perfect, but it was good, and fortunately. And so like when you are fortunate enough to have a good childhood, I think you can get really nostalgic after things like that happen. And as you get older and so I was just feeling really nostalgic all the time and I couldn't shake it. And so I had to write about it because that's kind of how I operate. And I just realized like it almost kind of hurts sometimes, nostalgia. It's
Yes,
almost
it does.
painful and it almost feels like grief because it's gone. That time is gone.
And you want to get it back.
Yeah. And then you don't want to be stuck in the past and you want to live in the present, but it can be really challenging not to just feel sad about all the time that's gone and you're not going to get back.
And all the experiences that you had.
Yeah.
And the way, and the innocence that you had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Then you said, I'll be damned if I didn't make myself a writer and I'd trade all my other dreams for that one. Where did that one come from?
So I have a piece called I'll Be Damned. And I love that. My grandpa used to say that a lot. Rest in peace. But I've had a lot of dreams throughout my life, like most people. And some of them are, your basic career dreams.
I wanted to be a go-go dancer.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah. I wanted to be a go-go dancer with the white go-go boots.
Oh, yeah. The boots alone are worth it.
Yeah. I had a pair.
Oh, yeah.
I
so
did.
jealous.
Yeah. Well, that dates me immediately, doesn't it? Oh, anyway, keep going.
But yeah, and then like other dreams, a lot of what I write about touches on trauma in one way or another. And, without getting into specifics, like there's things that if you've had certain traumatic experiences, like it kind of changes what you want. And like sort of like there's a before you and an after you. And so like in a lot of the dreams I had before, I don't have now. And
you change.
And you spend some time trying to go back, and you can't go back. You're a different person.
Yes.
And you just have to learn how to love that person. But yeah,
and sometimes you have to let a dream go, let it go.
Yes.
And no matter how hard you try to get that dream back, you can never get it back.
Yeah.
And you have to let it go.
Yes. And also,
and there is that grief. There is
Yes.
that mourning that you have to go through.
Yes.
I wanted a dream of mine was to be a police officer.
Yeah.
And I worked very hard at becoming that. And it just did not work out.
Yeah.
And I had to let it go.
But you tried.
And I tried. And it was horrible.
Yeah.
The whole thing was horrible. And
Yeah.
I had to let it go. And I
Yeah.
had to mourn it. And you do mourn it.
Yes.
You have to go through those stages of mourning.
Yes.
And
you're grieving.
you do grieve.
And then some dreams you really think you want, and then you realize, I don't want this anymore.
Right.
And you have
And
to.
not only do you not want it, but you're really glad that you don't want it anymore.
Yes. And you're sometimes glad you didn't get the thing you thought you wanted.
And the fact that I didn't become that and I became a teacher instead was a good thing.
Yes.
In hindsight, you turn around and you say, oh, I wasn't supposed to be that in the first place.
Yes.
I was supposed to be the teacher.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you don't realize that until things have happened. And that's part of, becoming the writer or becoming whatever it is that you're supposed to be becoming. And it's very hard.
Yes.
And it's like adulting sucks.
It really does. It's really challenging. I think I'm getting better at it.
Oh, no, you're not. I'm 70. No, I'm not. I'm not getting better
Well,
at it.
that's a comfort in a way too.
No, you're never going to get better at it. Okay. You're just going to keep doing it.
You just get through it.
You just get through it.
Yeah.
It's one foot in front of the other. Some days are great. Some days are okay. And some days suck.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is.
You got your highs and lows.
And that's just the way it is. And then the last one you give, okay, and I read the whole thing once. I'm not reading it again, but we've got the idea. Okay. So tell me about that one.
So my dad's parents both died relatively young. I
Mhm.
think neither of them got to 60. And to me, that's young.
That is young.
Yeah. His mother died of breast cancer. His father died of a heart attack. And I'm named after both of them. Elizabeth was my grandmother's middle name, and Carol was my grandfather's middle name.
Oh my.
So, and my last name is Enix, which is the paternal last name. So, all of my names come from them.
Oh my gosh.
And they had a really hard marriage, and they had a really hard life, and they died young. And so I try to sort of in their honor, live as happily as I can, I guess.
You have a lot of obligations there. Oh
Well,
my.
I mean, I don't think that they would care either way. They're gone, but I just kind of do it for myself because it's sad.
Yeah, but
It's
you have a lot-
sad.
but it is sad.
Yeah.
But you do have a lot. You have placed upon yourself
Yes, that's
a
what.
sense of responsibility.
Yes. But in a way, it's nice because it pushes me to be like, you know what? I don't want to
Mhm.
live that over again.
Yes.
And it sort of gives you more inspiration to fight it.
I completely understand that. Completely understand that. More than you know.
They actually lived in St. Louis for a while.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You also worked in education, which is such an inspiration to balance creative work. How does working in education affect your writing?
So I think
So what do you do you're a librarian?
yeah. So I'm technically not a librarian because I don't have the certification. I work as an library aide.
Oh, okay.
at the local high school. And then I also work as an English tutor at Three Rivers College.
Okay.
And so I think anytime you're people watching, that's inspirational. And you can do that
Yes.
anywhere.
And you can.
And also sometimes the kids inspire me. You know, they get really excited about literature, or if sometimes when I'm helping a student with writing, when I'm tutoring, not to sound conceited, but I will stop and be like, you know what? I have really gathered up some knowledge, and it makes me feel good to pass that on.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, you know, it helps anytime you're sharing what you know, it kind of fosters a certain community too.
Mm-hmm. Do your students know you're a writer?
They do. A lot of what I am more open with the college kids than the high school kids. A lot of what I write, I don't tell the high school kids about, just because it is more mature,
Right.
it's topics that they should learn about, but I don't want to get in trouble.
No, absolutely.
But at college, it's very different. They're all of age. And so if they ask, I tell them where they can find it.
What's the best advice you give your students?
Pretty much sleep on your work and just get something on the page.
Yeah, that's the same thing I used to give my kids too.
Yeah.
Do you believe writing can be taught?
I think some people are more inclined to it, but like for me, for example, I'm a much, much better writer, I think, now than I was 10 years ago because of practice.
Yeah.
So anyone can get better. Some people might be more naturally inclined to it because it does take a certain personality maybe, and you have to like be willing to sit still and work on it.
Okay, we are now down to our last 3 minutes.
Oh, the pressure.
This time has gone so freaking fast.
I've had a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm glad you have. Now you have 2 cats.
Yes.
Have they helped you in your writing?
I mean, I think they help me just by being my little emotional support creatures.
Uh-huh.
And they just comfort me a lot. And that's always helpful.
My son is sending me messages.
Gotcha.
So he's telling me what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing.
Like, tell me later. I'm busy.
No, he's actually giving me good advice.
Oh, good.
Yes, he's giving me good advice. Okay, so we're now down to 2 minutes. All right, so first, how can we get in touch with you?
You can go to my website, which is elizabethenix.com, and subscribe to my monthly newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to Liz's Substack.
Mm-hmm.
And the link for that is elizabethlizenix.substack.com. I have a little cat and a coffee mug. That's like in my logo.
Okay.
You can subscribe to my newsletter there. You can communicate with me there. And my email address is also on my website.
Okay. And if they want to purchase your book, which is Leaving the House Unlocked, they can purchase it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. It's on bookshop.org.
Okay.
And it's on the University of Indianapolis University Press's website as well.
Excellent. And what is it? Real fast, what are you doing? What are you doing in the future?
More Substack, hopefully more books, and a lot more time with the cats.
Okay. Well, that's a wrap. Don't worry. You can catch this episode and all our others at any time. Huge thanks to Liz Enox for joining us today and sharing her heart, her book, Leaving the House Unlocked, and those weekly gems she drops in her Substack newsletters. Seriously, go subscribe. Author's Edge airs every Saturday at 8 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. on KWRH 929 and KXOK 1029. You can also stream us online at KXOK102.com or KWRH929.com, or tune in on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, and yes, even on YouTube. And hey, we go national too, weekdays at 8 a.m. on My Genre Radio. We will be back next week with more stories, inspirations, and in my case, probably way too much tea. And you won't want to miss it. We are chatting with Brian Katcher, author of Almost Perfect and the Improbable Theory of Anna and Zach. Until then, keep writing, keep reading, and we will see you around the inkwell.